The story is set in the not-so-distant future in Miami, Florida, where the catastrophic effects of climate change have caused widespread flooding and scorching temperatures. The city has become a shadow of its former self, with many of its residents forced to conduct their businesses and other activities at night due to the unbearable heat. Poverty is rampant, and some of the inhabitants are forced to live in makeshift slums or even boats. In this bleak and depressing environment, people are desperately holding on to memories of happier times. Nick and Emily, both ex-soldiers, have set up a unique business called Reminiscence Tank. This service allows people to relive their fondest memories using a combination of sedatives and cutting-edge technology. Nick can even visualize and share their memories in a holographic form, making the experience more surreal. Avatar 3, Here We Come. The scene then shifts to Nick's acquaintance from the army, Hank, who is using the Reminiscence service. Nick takes him back to a sunny day 13 years ago when he was playing with his beloved pet dog. As Hank relives this cherished memory, Nick describes the sensation of reminiscence as a powerful drug that allows people to reconnect with their loved ones and relive the most significant moments of their lives. However, Nick also warns that excessive indulgence in these memories can lead to a dangerous addiction, trapping people in their past and robbing them of the present. But the present is shit, who cares? Finally, Nick reveals that every memory experienced by the clients through the Reminiscence Tank are stored on small flash drives, further highlighting the potential risks associated with this service. Later at night, as Nick and Emily are about to close their business for the day, a walk-in customer named May asks for help in finding her missing keys. As soon as Nick sees May, he is immediately attracted to her, and despite Emily mentioning that it's too late, he decides to help. Wasting no time, he equips her with the machine and immerses her in a memory of her morning routine. While May is processing her memory, Nick observes it and sees detailed things in her room. Emily tells him that May put the keys in her bag and dropped them in the dressing room. Despite this, Nick continues with the memory and learns that May is a nightclub singer. After the session is over, May leaves, but inadvertently leaves her earrings behind. Time for Nick to be a good Samaritan with a boner. The next night, Nick visits the same nightclub from May's memory with the sole purpose of returning her earrings. Yeah. After May ends her performance, he approaches her and the two have a small chat. When he returns her earrings, out of nowhere, May requests him to escort her to her apartment. Nick, who at this point has become flabbergasted by her beauty, agrees without thinking twice. And as soon as the two reach home, they make passionate love. After their intimate encounter, Nick and May have a heart-to-heart conversation on the rooftop. May questions why Nick doesn't use the memory tank more often, to which the latter explains that memories are better in small doses. Suddenly, it is revealed that Nick has been in the Reminiscence Tank this whole time, thinking about May. Everything was only in his imagination. Emily tries to get him out of the tank, but Nick simply can't stop thinking about his dream girl. It turns out May mysteriously disappeared a few months ago, and now Nick is trying to figure out her whereabouts by using the Reminiscence Tank again and again. He frequently visits the club where she used to work and asks her friend for clues, but to no avail. When nothing works, Nick takes a sedative and goes back to his memories of May. One time, he wakes up to a loud banging on his front door. Frustrated and half asleep, Nick angrily yells at the person on the other side before storming out to confront them, but when he opens the door, he finds no one there, only a pair of earrings lying on the ground. Nick realizes that the earrings belong to his ex-girlfriend May and tells Emily about this. However, she dismisses it, saying that the earrings could have been there for a while. Later, the two visit the police station to extract memories from a dying criminal named Miles. Nick struggles to get any useful information until he changes his approach and discovers a conversation between Miles's boss, St. Joe, and a corrupt cop named Cyrus Booth. They're at a nightclub, and surprisingly, May is also there, singing. She appears to be high on something. As the memory progresses, Nick gets to know that May stole a bag of narcotics from St. Joe and ran away. The following day, Nick travels to New Orleans and gains entry to St. Joe's club using a fake name. Unfortunately, Joe sees through his lies and orders his men to beat him up. When Nick finally confesses that he's here to find May, Joe reveals that he hasn't seen her since she stole from him. He then orders his henchmen to drown Nick. Things look very bleak for our protagonist, but right then, Emily arrives out of nowhere and starts fighting the guys. Despite being outnumbered, she executes every single one of them with her accurate shots and saves the day. After they reach Miami, Nick says that he finds the whole situation weird. He believes May was simply toying with him and that she must have stolen something from them. Emily thinks he's being paranoid, but Nick reminds her of the last time she met May. He then asks her to get into the reminiscence tank to investigate the matter further. In the memory, we are shown that before May vanished, she came to visit Emily, holding a bottle of wine. The two talk about a lot of things, including their relationships and families. May also confesses that she is a hardcore narcotic addict. Later, when Emily goes to the washroom, May covertly enters the memory vault and steals a memory chip. In the present, as soon as Emily exits the tank, she tries to defend herself for hiding May's drug addiction. However, Nick does not give much weight to it and rushes to the memory vault. After searching for a while, he learns that the memory chip of a young woman, Elsa Kareen, is missing. It turns out Elsa was a regular client who also went missing some weeks back. The next day, Nick goes to a floating market, searching for Elsa, but learns that she is dead. Furthermore, her child Freddie was kidnapped by a red-headed woman, matching May's appearance. The revelation shocks Nick, and he begins to wonder if May was a criminal. Despite this, he continues searching for her, until a guy corners him inside an abandoned house and beats his ass. He threatens to kill Nick the next time if he doesn't forget about May. After the attack, Nick returns to his office and immediately re-watches his memory to search for clues. On closer inspection, he discovers that the attacker is the same corrupt cop, Cyrus, who worked for St. Joe. To find out more about him, Nick and Emily rush to the police station, but they are stopped by a huge crowd gathered outside. It turns out the wealthiest businessman in town, Sylvan, has recently died. Currently, his widowed wife Tamara and their son Sebastian are being escorted out. As soon as Nick sees Tamara, he recognizes her as a former client of the reminiscence tank. So, he rushes to his office and begins playing her memory, where she is seen dancing with her husband Sylvan. Following this, he also plays the memory of Elsa, who is enjoying her time with her rich boyfriend. When Nick compares the two clips, he finds similarities in the man's voice, which confirms that Elsa was having an affair with none other than Sylvan. Furthermore, Freddie was born because of their illicit relationship. After putting two and two together, Nick deduces that Sylvan's other son Sebastian hired Cyrus to kill Elsa and her son. The main motive is that he wants to be the sole heir of his father's fortune. After learning all of this, Nick decides to get to the bottom of everything, so he leaves his office carrying a gun. In the following scene, an angry Nick arrives at Tamara's residence. She lives in the richest part of Miami, where lavishness is still existent. Surprisingly, Nick is mistaken for a dancer who is called to put on a show. "Shake those titties, Wolvie." He doesn't resist though, as it could be his best chance to find answers. Soon enough, he meets Tamara and angrily asks her about May and Elsa. Tamara, who has lost a lot of her memory due to depression, reveals that May and Cyrus were working together on something. She also seems to be aware that her husband was having an affair with Elsa. Sadly, before Tamara can provide more information, Sebastian arrives and calls for security, thinking that Nick is troubling his mother. The guards eventually throw him out, but they also assist him by revealing Cyrus's location. It turns out that even they are fed up with the corrupt cop and they want him dead. Afterward, Nick goes to the said location and notices a woman similar to May. He excitedly follows her, but ends up finding Cyrus waiting for him. He is humming a song which reminds Nick of his first meeting with May. Cyrus then reveals that Nick's meeting and interaction with May were all planned. Her only task was to manipulate Nick, use the reminiscence tank, and steal Elsa's chip, which contained memories of her doing it with Sylvan. Sylvan didn't want anyone to know that he has a small peepee. Saying this, Cyrus flees from a nearby window, and Nick follows him. There, the two get into a tussle, which goes back and forth for a while. They fight in the scorching sun, and also underwater. In the end, it is our brave protagonist who emerges victorious. He then knocks Cyrus out, takes him to his office, and puts him in the reminiscence tank. The corrupt cop's memories reveal that May's relationship with Nick was built on a lie. She actually worked for Cyrus and pretended to be interested in Nick to carry out a plan. She even met many of his friends to learn more about him and gain his trust. The revelation stuns Nick, as all these months he had believed her to be his soulmate. However, in another memory, it is shown that Cyrus was the one who killed Elsa. May witnessed all of this, so she immediately fled to an unknown location with Freddie. When Nick inquires about his last meeting with May, Cyrus recollects his memory and shows that he met her outside Nick's office when she was knocking on the door. He dragged her away from there, and this is when May dropped one of her earrings. Nick angrily asks what he did to her, and Cyrus remembers assaulting her. He also forced her to reveal Freddy's location by overloading her with narcotics. Surprisingly, May shows up on the hologram and speaks to Nick through Cyrus's memories. She expresses her love for him, while also hinting at where Freddy is hiding. She always knew that Nick would capture Cyrus, so that's why she had left a secret message for him. Unfortunately, in the last memory, Nick gets to know that May committed the unthinkable when the pressure became too much for her. Devastated by her death, Nick decides to take revenge. He orders Cyrus to remember his worst moment and forces him to relive it again and again. The memory shows Cyrus's face being burnt by St. Joe's men as punishment for stealing profits. However, even this is not enough for Nick, so he increases the voltage of Cyrus's dreadful memory and lets him die in the water tank. Hasta la vista, bub. Following this, Nick goes straight to Sylvan's residence and confronts Sebastian for killing Elsa for the sake of his father's wealth. He also reveals that he knows about his father's affair with Elsa. Enraged and shocked, Sebastian tries to shoot Nick, but despite his best efforts, he can't bring himself to do it. In the end, he turns the gun on himself and prepares to commit the unthinkable. However, before things can get bloody, his mother arrives in the nick of time and calms him down. With the situation resolved, Nick goes to see Emily and confesses to his crimes, recounting the entire story of May, Cyrus, and their tangled web of deceit. He says life is short, so that's why Emily should go back to her family and live with them. In his final moments, Nick goes into the reminiscence tank, connects himself to the wires, and gets ready to start the reminiscence process on himself. Soon, we see him reliving his memories with May, where the two confess their love for each other before passing away peacefully. Years later, Emily visits Nick at the reminiscence tank with her daughter and leaves flowers for him. The movie ends with the message that while living in the past can be dangerous, reliving memories of the best times can be a way to find peace in the present, even if you become addicted to it and you die. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.